Mason, POV. Dad asked me to stay with the group today and start being more proactive in the supporting roles. He wanted me to get more involved with the castle workings. Now I had a mate, I should step up more and start learning to be the beta I was always supposed to be. And David was more than ready to start giving me more responsibility, now that I was going to be mated and settled down. Or so they hoped. I was actually looking forward to learning and being more of the person Dad has been trying to make me be. But I guess I needed a mate to see what I had been missing out on. All those nights out with my brothers had not done me any good, and the more I think about it, the only thing I ever did was get drunk and have meaningless sex with whoever did not have too much perfume on. Strong perfume was always a turn-off for me. I guess my nose was extra sensitive. I would often have a sneezing attack when it was too powerful, which made my brothers laugh. But I have a tracker's nose, and it has helped me out of a tight spot a few times over the years. Today we have these reports to go over, and after lunch we are going to follow after the ladies. They are doing the opening at the hospital, and we are going to head over there and give blood, with the intent that our DNA, etc., can be placed in the new database. Something the researchers have been wanting us to do for a very long time. We are going to have the whole kingdom DNA tested. Something about hidden lineage and special gifts. I cannot say I fully understand where they are headed with this, but I'm okay for the DNA database. It would be good for all those displaced pups of the old wars to finally find out if they have family out there somewhere. Those wars killed so many and left a huge number of pups without parents. I'm pleased we have not had any such wars since then. Many packs were completely wiped out, and so many of our kind in that war and previous wars. Dad was passionate about the huge losses and misplaced pups left to survive without their parents or any loved ones. All from the last devastating war of all wars that happened just over 100 years ago. He believes that many Omegas could have alpha bloodlines and should be allowed to be more than what society has categorized them to be. So many young ones today show great potential, and these could be some of the lost alpha pups that have grown up to be less than they could have been or entitled to be. The meeting was interesting, and I supposed it could be because I had changed my view on things. Not sure when that happened, but I listened and gave feedback. In a meeting, I would normally not bother to listen to them. Wow, had a mate started to change me this much? You could see Dad's face beaming as I joined in with the discussions, and David nodded his approval too. The more they displayed approval for me, the more I wanted to be better and gain more of those approving looks. It was no longer a young boy trying to get Dad's attention, because here today I had his attention when I spoke, and it felt good and rewarding. The hospital was a place I did not particularly like to visit. We were taken to a private room to give blood away from the public, who were lined up to give blood too, and I watched Dad roll up his sleeve and let the lady put the needle in, and saw the blood flow into the tube. I knew that I had to show that same strength and acceptance. When my turn came, I was surprised that the needle did not really hurt. Did I feel it go in? Yes, but there was no real pain involved. No more than a bug bite. We were given a private tour of the new wing and an explanation of what was going on and what they had expected to get out of this new laboratory. It sounded exciting, and Dad was more than eager to see that it was well funded, with not just money, but people who were as passionate as Dad was about the process that was now officially underway. How many people out there had gifts and powers that lay hidden away? Anyone could have that potential. So many have lost their identity. We can go back to the days just after the wars, but who belonged to who before the wars is a mystery for many. Some alphas refuse to have omegas as mates, yet that person could have the alpha bloodline and the potential to have strong gifts. We need to put a stop to that type of discrimination. Not sure how we would be able to enforce it, but I guess this is one step towards it. Everyone deserves to be seen as a valuable person, regardless of status, strong or weak, alpha or omega. All are valuable in their own way and deserve to be seen as such. Dad is hoping that the DNA testing and blood identification will aid in showing hidden gifts and other unknown powers, lost since the end of the war. My worry, which had occurred to me as I toured the laboratory, was what they were intending to do with a person if they found they had hidden gifts. A question, I guess, will be answered if they find someone gifted. By the time we made it back to the castle, it was after 3 in the afternoon, and I had missed the chance to see Heather before she headed home. I hoped she had a good day.
Chapter 32. Heather, POV. Dad's office was like a crazy house, with the boys running around like chooks without a head, and Mom was there trying to do stuff. She had no idea what to do. Dad was on the phone talking to our beta about him doing more to set up the event, as we could not do it all, and it was his event, not ours, and we had no benefits out of doing this work. And from what I gleaned from the conversation, the Alpha had come in today and blasted Dad for not doing something for him, only to find out that Dad had been overloaded with the event, and Alpha had told Dad to hand it back to the beta and not take any more of his work. My twin sisters were nowhere to be found. It seems they have managed to get out of doing anything productive again, and I have no idea how come they continually get away with doing little to nothing, or anything helpful. I worked out what had the boys running in circles and got that sorted first, then sent them off to do a few small tasks that needed to be done and out of the office for a few moments before I tackled Mom's issue, which was a computer glitch that I fixed in about half an hour. By then, Dad was off the phone and holding onto his head as if it was going to explode. Mom went and made a pot of coffee and placed it on the desk and made Dad and me one too. One thing my mom is good at is making a decent cup of coffee. Dad, what is going on? I asked, looking over his shoulder at the spreadsheet he had open.
Alpha wants us to do some work with the hospital labs. Something about getting all of our pack members to the hospital for blood work and making sure we missed no one, he said exasperatedly, staring at the spreadsheet before him as if it was about to bite him. And what do you have open? I looked at the spreadsheet and saw many issues already. I try to import the names of every pack member to make a list so I could record who had been to the hospital lab and who had not. But somehow I have doubled up the names, and now I seem to be in some kind of loop, and the computer will not let me do what I wanted to do, Dad said, exasperated.
Move over and let me fix this for you. I think we need a few more columns, too, for those who have been contacted to go, and comments for reasons not gone, like away at another pack doing something, and time back, so we can organize them to get the blood work done. I said. I needed to make it sound like it was an easy task, but I also had to see what Dad had done, and then fix it. Or maybe just start over from the start if need be.
Oh, thank you, Heather. The beta will be here soon to see what we have organized so far for the red carpet event and take over the rest,
Dad added before I got too deep into the spreadsheet. It did not take long for the entries to be fixed, and Dad looked a little bit better. Mom had gone home, taking the boys with her, and would start dinner soon. Dad, please don't be afraid to contact me and ask me to come help. I am still your daughter. Even if the Queen is trying to change my life, or should I say having a mate is trying to change my life, but I want you to know that I will still be here, for you for as long as I can. I tried to reassure him that I would do whatever I could to help bring the boys into the family. My sisters were not any good, but my 2 younger brothers, also twins, they seemed to be keen on learning, and Morgan seemed to be the quicker learner of the two. And Marty was not one to be afraid to be put out in front of people. Together, I think it would work better than just having me. Morgan could fix things in the background, and Marty could be the face of the company and people networking.
Can you train your brothers? They seem keen enough,
Dad asked, as if he had been reading my mind. Agreed. Morgan can do the computer side. I think he has the brains for it. And Marty likes getting involved with people. I think using them is way better than having just me, don't you think? I asked Dad, hoping he could see the benefits.
Marty does have that flair and great people skills,
Dad agreed as he looked over my shoulder at the work I was doing on the computer. Dad was always amazed when he saw me typing away and talking at the same time, something he had trouble with. Can I ask you something, Dad? I started hesitantly.
You can ask me anything. You know more about our business than I do.
He chuckled at his comment, knowing it was mostly true. Why don't the girls do more in the family business? There, I said it at last. It's not that I'm jealous, but many hands do make light work, or so the saying goes, and we could use more hands at the moment. Dad goes a little bit pale, then takes a deep breath.
You've seen how they are. I cannot have them be the face of the company. It's all right to have them do their fluffy little girl stuff on that television show they love to be the face of, but when it comes to the more important things, they can't settle down long enough to learn the new procedures. And how long? Do you think they would last if I sent them to a meeting for me with the beta or the alpha?
He replied, and I could see what he was trying not to say. They will have to settle down one day, Dad. Let's hope they find mates soon, and maybe your problems with them will improve, I replied sympathetically. Dad and I worked for about 2 more hours, the spreadsheet up and running, and after giving Dad a quick tutorial, he was ready to go. Just as we finished packing up, the beta arrived, all grumpy and groveling away as he walked toward our door. We could hear him, and were glad that we were the only ones in the office at this time of night. Hello, Beta, I greeted him as he walked in without knocking, as if he owned the place.
Why did you have to go and find a mate? There's no way I can find another you.
He growls at me as a greeting. Dad burst out laughing at the beta.
She's not made it yet. Mason has a bit more learning to do before our Heather is ready to let him take her as his mate. Did you not hear about his latest fiasco?
Dad asked the beta. Dad, can we not talk about this? I really want to go home before the sun rises, I grumbled, and that got both of the men chuckling away at my expense.
So, Heather, show me what has been done and what is still left to do for the next event.
The beta jumped right in, grabbing his laptop and flicking it on. For the next half an hour, I went over where we were at, what companies we use for catering, and other little knickknacks that we may need. And he was pleased that we managed to get most of it done. Just a few loose ends to tie up.
Great work.
The beta shut off his laptop, and together we headed out the door, Dad locking up as we went. That was all I would get from the beta as a compliment. I caused this by helping out in the past. Now he expects us to do all of his business stuff, as well as run our own company. Dad is getting more and more overloaded, while the beta is reaping all the benefits. Poor Dad. He is going to have to say something soon, or he will burn out.
Mason, POV. To my surprise, I actually enjoyed my day with my dad and the other men. They were joking around, not at all like I expected them to behave, and it showed me that you can still have fun and be serious at the same time. It was a real eye-opener for me, and I now want more of these days. It was so special to me. Dad had never pushed any duties onto me or my brothers. He made hints, and sometimes he would sort of ask if we wouldn't mind doing some things for him to help him out, but never making it an order, and in some ways, I wished he had. He gave me free rein to make an idiot of myself and room to make a formative decision about how much effort I would put into the tasks he gave me. Never once did Dad look disappointed about not completing a task or if I had not attempted it at all. When I did a reasonable job, he would compliment me on the effort I had put in, even if I knew he knew I could have done better. Never once did his smile leave his face, and the shine that glistened with mirth leave his eyes, and I can't even remember him ever being angry with me. Mum was the one to complain and push and try and make me do stuff. I think that is part of why we all try to avoid her and her nagging. Being the second eldest, I should have been working with my dad since I turned 18, as I finished my degree. Instead, I'm 24 years old, and other than finishing my degree that all of us would have to complete, I have yet to use it or work a day in my life with any true effort. It was as if Dad gave me every opportunity to show him when I was ready to be the man he could see in me, and he waited patiently in the wings for me to reach that day and prove myself, not to him but to myself, and I think today I had reached that day and have emerged on to the other side with a new understanding. And today was the first day on my new journey to be the man I could be proud of. Will I fail? Yes, occasionally I will fail. No journey is without some failure to reach one's potential, and I was ready. My older brother is 26 and has a pup due in 4 months. He has only just started to take on some of Dad's duties. I still don't understand why Dad never pushed any of us to work. Michael is 23 and the twins Jackson and Jacob are 22, and the baby of the group is Tyler at 20. None of us have had to work. Tyler is still finishing his business degree. We have had to do the training. Don't get me wrong, we had to train hard with the head warrior, and we all took a turn. But Dad gave us the task of doing workshops with castle workers every now and then, and we did not have a regular workday. If we did not show up, he did not scold us, and did the task himself. Only the head trainer had ever really yelled at us, and Mother, of course. I actually loved the training, and now I have every intention of taking that back up again. I kinda miss getting my body all hot and sweaty, and trying to get my body so exhausted, and then see how much more my body could take beyond that point. And my reflexes were much quicker than they are now. Too many late nights and too much booze has made me slower and lazy. Well, from today on, I have changed, and it is no longer because I need to impress my mate. Nope. Now I want to see how far I can push myself, for myself, and I want more days like today. Then I know they won't always be this good, but I don't want to miss out the opportunity to spend more time with Dad and learn what I can. It is time I gave him some love back. I feel I have failed him by not being a better person. It is time I turned my life around and stopped letting my brother convince me to go out and get drunk. If Mum wants to rag on my ear for a few hours because she is suffering from an empty nest, then so be it. She deserves our attention too. And while I am with my mum, giving her the attention she is obviously craving, maybe I can learn a bit more about women and the do's and don'ts of a date the old-fashioned way. I should have been paying more attention to Mum and Dad, looking at how they behave when out of public view, when they can be themselves. How they can still treat each other with so much love and affection. Behind closed doors, they are the perfect couple, even with Mum's nagging. When Mum and Dad are together, you can see their love shining like a bright beacon in the darkness. And I want that. I want what I see they share. "Mason, come on, man, let's head out!" Michael walked into my room without knocking, as usual. "Nope, not doing that anymore. I have other priorities," I said as I continued to take my shoes and socks off as I got ready for a shower. "What has got into you?" Michael complained. "I have a mate, and I don't need to go out." "What has a mate got to do with going out? It is not the same anymore, with you not part of the team." You saw what happened the other day. I don't want that. I don't need that, I argued, with more determination than ever before. And Michael must have noticed, because he did not try to push my boundaries this time. Suit yourself? And he left my room, slamming the door behind him as he went, grumbling about double dates being ruined and how selfish I was being. I had a quick shower and was getting ready to climb into bed with all these positive thoughts going on in my head that I almost missed the knock on my door. Come in, I called out, wondering who would knock when most of my brothers had just barged in. Dad tentatively walked in, and his smile brightened when he saw me in my PJs. Not heading out, son? He asked, knowing the obvious answer. No, Dad, I have a mate. No need to go out any longer, I replied honestly. Will you be joining us in the morning for breakfast? You could hear his hopefulness in his voice. Yeah, Dad, it is time I got more involved. And if I am honest with myself, I actually enjoyed spending the day with you today. You would have thought I just gave Dad the best gift. His eyes welled up with unshed tears, and his smile beamed with so much love. I enjoyed your company too, son. When you are ready, let me know and I can give you a section of castle duties to take over, like I did your older brother. I'm just glad you have reached the end of your playboy days. Or have you? He asked with doubt on his face, changing his happy face to a hopeful one. Yeah, Dad, I don't want any more repeats of the other day. Best if I stay away from fate, and the warnings it has been trying to give me. It is about time I listened, I answered with a laugh, which Dad joined in on. Great news, son. I enjoyed our time together too. Catch you in the morning and we can share breakfast together again. The others will be glad to see you too. Dad patted me on the back before leaving my room with a huge smile on his face. Now to start on how to gain my mate's trust and love adventure. It may take me a while to prove I have changed, but I'm going to give it a really good try.
Chapter 34. Heather, POV. Dinner was being kept warm in the oven. I took it from the oven and placed it on the table in front of Dad and me. We sat at the table and silently attempted to eat. It was just the two of us. Even the staff were still in bed and most likely asleep. Mom and my other siblings had long gone to bed. It was nearly midnight by the time we finished eating and headed to bed. Shower and bed. I was sure I was asleep before I even climbed into bed. I had stripped and done my bed routine mindlessly. The morning sun shone in the sky. I was so tired last night I had forgotten to close the curtains. I was still exhausted and did not want the day to begin again yet. Dragging my sleepy self out of bed, I did my morning absolutions, my mind not yet functioning, but I was glad my body knew what to do. I looked at myself in the mirror and wondered where the bright, happy child had gone, and this tired old woman had taken over. I don't remember ever being this tired, even all the late-night study sessions. That did not leave me this exhausted. Looking down at my arm, I was horrified to see a lot of puncture wounds, covered in purple marks. My whole area was practically covered in bruises from yesterday. The places where the needle had entered my body. My arm was deep, blackish purple. Even my wolf speed healing had not completely removed the bruising yet, and I wondered if the blood taken had made me this tired, or if it was some reaction to the disinfectant wipe. I knew it stung more than I had expected, and the many attempts the person made to get the needle into the vein. It showed with all of the different purple spots on my arm. The man must have tried at least 6 times before he found a place where the blood spilled into the vial. He was blaming the needle, being blunt or blocked, or some other excuse that he used, and could think of each time it did not work. I think he pushed through the vein the first time. I had worked hard on my concentration to keep my arm still. Then I gave up after the second attempt, deciding this guy was an idiot and he missed the vein the second time, and then he started jabbing me as if it was my fault he could not find a suitable vein. I did not tell him that the only other time someone tried to take my blood, he could not get a vein either, and that man decided not to keep on trying. That was at school. A part of my medical course I did. I was a curious person that loved a challenge, and doing the introduction to a medicine course, thinking I might like to be a doctor or nurse, soon told me I was better as a researcher. I did not like cutting into flesh or sewing up wounds. I could do it. I was not squeamish, just could not see it as a career choice. But this man was not a personable person, so I put it down to maybe he did not want to do that part of the lab work. Maybe he was good at getting the results and not taking the blood. I forgave him for his inapt ability to get blood and his bad attitude toward me. I was used to being abused for just being me, and I did not let that faze me at the time. Maybe he should just stay away from the needles and people and work on the DNA side of things, hidden away from the public. But looking at my arm now, I kind of feel sorry for myself and wonder if I should wear a long-sleeve shirt to hide the bruises. I have a date tonight with Mason, and I don't want to be out in public showing bruises. People might think he gave them to me. I hope they will be gone by the time we go out. I wonder where he is taking me. It better not be at the nocturnal club. I would be pissed off if he took me there. I would roll up my sleeves then and let people believe the worst of him. Breakfast was a piece of toast and a large coffee to go. I did not feel like sitting in the kitchen and talking to Mom, who was the only person up at the time, though Dad would have gotten up and left early. But I don't think so. The girls most likely had a long night out, and the boys had school, so they would be down in another half an hour. I was always an early riser, so it was not surprising that only Mom was there. Jerry greeted me with his cheery smile, and I greeted back as best I could, and yawned all the way to the castle.
I hope you have a great day today, Heather,
Jerry said as I climbed out of the car. I'll try to. Are you taking us out tonight? I probed.
Yes, and before you ask, I have no idea where Mason is taking you.
I pouted, and he laughed as he closed the door and headed around the car to the driver's seat. Just before he climbed in, he looked up at me and gave me a wave, then drove away. All the while, I just stood and stared at him driving away, wondering how I got to have such a nice man as my driver. I forced myself inside the castle, the Queen not waiting for me at the door, as she had all week. Unsure where I should go, I waited for a while in the foyer, when a staff member walked by. I asked where the Queen was, and happily headed to the room mentioned, and hoped the day would be a good one. The Queen and ladies were seated around a table of food, and I wondered how I managed to arrive while they were all still eating. "Good morning, Your Majesty and ladies," I greeted them, and then gave off a wide yawn. "Are you okay, Heather?" Yvonne asked softly, her face full of concern. "Yeah, for some reason I'm really tired. I'm not sure what's going on," I answered honestly. "Jacinta is in bed too, feeling poorly too. Maybe the two of you caught a bug. Why don't you head back home and get some rest?" the Queen suggested. "I have my date with Mason tonight. Do you think he would mind if I canceled?" I asked the Queen. "He would be devastated, and so would I. Go home, and I will let him know you have gone home to rest, and he can still pick you up later and take you out. Please don't cancel," the Queen said with such conviction that I believe she would be very disappointed if I did not go out with Mason today. Thank you. I'll get Jerry to take me home," I said as I went to turn around. Ashley grabbed my arm to prevent me from leaving just yet. "Ow," I whimpered, and Ashley gasped at me and my whine of pain. "That's the arm you gave blood on?" she asked, looking worried. "Yeah." Show me your arm, the Queen demanded. I rolled up my sleeve, and all three ladies gasped at the sight of the bruising. That brute! How many times did he jab you with a needle? I can see at least 6 dark blue purplish marks, Ashley said as she inspected my arm. He was not the best with the needle, I replied as I pulled my sleeve down. Go rest. You look horrible. Let's hope your wolf healing will get those bruises gone by this afternoon, Ashley said with a hopeful voice, but her eyes were sad.
Listen. POV. Joining Dad with the others for breakfast was just as much fun as the day before, cracking jokes, and this time I was not the one they were making jokes about. I was relieved. As I had not gone out the night before, the staff had little to say about me, but my other brothers were hot gossip about what they were up to and what clubs they had visited. And as usual, they had picked up girls and took them to a hotel. Pictures of them were on social media, and a small comment about me not with them, and the rumor that I had found my mate might be true spread like wildfire, with a number of ladies stating they had broken hearts. One piece of gossip I did find interesting was that Michael had another date with Heather's twin sisters. He seemed to have taken a shine to those two. Not sure how far Mum will let that go, with neither of the twins being his mate. I had heard that Mum still had the guards out collecting girls who had not turned up for the mandatory meeting, and she was not impressed with so many defying the orders. They had more young ladies arriving on Friday for the other brothers to meet. Fingers crossed another brother finds a mate. The more mates Mum finds, the happier she will be, and the reputation of her boys will improve. Or so she had hoped. The day was pretty enjoyable for me. I felt part of the team. David was taking me through some basic computer programs and passwords that are part of the day-to-day running of the security of the castle and of visiting dignitaries' protection. As Beta, I would need to be in contact with lots of different areas of running the kingdom, where the Alpha makes all the decisions. I need to be able to find what he needs and get that information to him quickly. The work in the background of what runs the kingdom was an eye-opener to me, and my respect and admiration for Beta David grew. I had no idea David did all this work in the background, and how much Dad looked to him for support and guidance when things are not clear, and David is happy to give Dad his opinion. Strongly when he disagrees with Dad, most likely the only person that would get away with it. Nearing the end of the day, mostly stuck in the security room and learning all the ins and outs, David shooed me out the door. "It's almost 5 o'clock. If you're going to get changed and pick Heather up, you better get a move on," David said with a mysterious grin as he pushed me out of the door, then bursting into laughter when he saw my shocked face. I had no idea it was that late in the day. It had flown by so fast, and I felt I had hardly scratched the surface of what I needed to learn. Taking the stairs 2 at a time, I rushed up to my room and showered, shaved, and put some cologne on that was my favorite. I did not like strong smells, and this one was a softer smell than most. I grabbed a dark blue suit and lighter blue shirt and dressed in a rush. As I reached the bottom of the stairs, Dad and Mum came out of a nearby room and looked at me, nodding in approval as I headed towards them. "Good luck, son. Be sure to stay away from other ladies. You don't want another week placed on your time," Mum said jokingly, while Dad just smirked at me and patted me on my back. My brothers watched me leave, not trying to join me on my date. I had half expected them to ask to join me, but when they heard where I was taking Heather to the art show, they quickly backed off any idea of joining me. I'm not sure if it was because I was going to the art show or Dad intervening at some point. I remember when my older brother first mated with Sabrina, we were told to back off and let them find their way, by Dad, or if they did not want to be around me while I was trying to woo Heather. I don't really care. I was just happy that it would be just the two of us, and I had hopefully found a good venue for our date. I had booked a French restaurant for dinner later, but would be happy to change it and to go anywhere if French is not her style. Jerry opened my door and I briskly walked up to Heather's door and rapped on it 3 times and waited. One of the boys, I think it was Morgan, opened the door and whistled at me when I saw a bunch of flowers in my hand. "Come on in, I will call Heather." I followed him into the house, and he did exactly what he said he would do, at the top of his voice. "Heather, Mason is here, with flowers." He sort of sung the flowers part, and I had to force myself not to groan. And then join the laughter I could hear coming from a room off to the right of the entrance. "Morgan, inside voice, please." Mason was chastised by a gentle voice, barely louder than a whisper, and you could see by Mason's reaction that the voice was not one he wanted to hear. "Hi, Mason. Heather will be down shortly. I just want to warn you, though, go easy on her. She had been in bed all day, a bad reaction to the visit to the laboratory yesterday." Heather's mum warned me, and I felt bad that I did not know she was unwell. I would have cancelled our date and let her rest. Heather appeared at the top of the stairs, and I watched her carefully make her way down. She looked beautiful in a matching outfit to me, a long dark blue flowing skirt, and a light blue blouse with flowers on it. She looked sexy, and other than the dark circles under her eyes, you would not know she was unwell. "Hi," Heather greeted me softly, not her usually vicious self. "Hi, your mum said you were feeling under the weather. Would you like to cancel tonight?" I offered, giving her an out if she did. "You wouldn't mind?" She looked hopeful. "How about we negotiate?" "What do you mean?" "How about you remove, say, 2 months off my trial?" Heather gasped at the thought, and then looked like she was thinking about it. "No, I think I can manage a night out. I'm looking forward to finding out where you were taking me." I lifted the bunch of flowers I had in my hand and offered them to her. Taking them from me, she took a deep breath and sighed contentedly. "How did you know I love orchids?" she asked me with a soft smile. "I didn't know. To me you smell like these flowers, among other fragrances, but this one stands out the most." I answered honestly, and hoped I did not look like an idiot by sharing that. "I do? Thank goodness, I was worried I would smell like pizza or some other smelly food. I heard that your mate smells of something that is your favorite smell, and I would never have picked orchids as a smell you like." My grandmother always smelled of orchids, so it kinda has a nice memory of that fragrance. And now I have my mate with that smell. I feel right at home. "Your grandmother?" Heather sounded shocked, and I wondered if I had said something wrong. "Yes, she loved to grow them, and when in bloom wore them pinned to her shirt or apron. I think she used to buy that fragrance too, as an air freshener, so it always reminded me of love and laughter and strong warm hugs from her." "Oh, that sounds nice. Thank you so much for the flowers. Let me put them in water and then we can be on our way." Heather headed to the kitchen and reached overhead for a vase. I followed her in and reached over her and grabbed it for her. She squeaked a thank you and arranged the flowers and placed them in the center of the table.